And also, this is going to be really controversial. I'm not sure a musical was the best way to depict it, because while it helped convey the emotion and the songs were good, it didn't help flesh out the relationship. And that's one of the best things that the 98 version did, was develop relationships with these characters. It was not the most faithful adaptation. It had some flaws, but as far as the feeling behind it, I feel like it got the job done, especially between Jean Valjean and Inspector Javert. It was their relationship, man. That was some good stuff. But in the musical though, I think, gosh, I wouldn't say Valjean and Javert have more than 20 minutes of screen time together. I mean, gosh, and then in the second half, they both kind of get pushed to the background, which I don't feel like they do nearly as much in the 98 version, which, now, you can argue that's a good thing because, and that may be realistic to the novel, but this is something else now I want to get into. It's good to be a good adaptation to the novel, but sometimes that's not what you need. You gotta understand something. Maybe for the stage, because I'm not big on stage, but maybe for the stage, being sort of different like this with not having, I mean, it had a central character, but it was not a definitive central character. But they weren't necessarily, focused on one person. That might be good for the stage, but for a movie, you need to have a central character to help guide you through the story. Movies a different medium than stages, or films different than stage. I got mixed up, but that's the major issue here. And you gotta understand, Valjean should be in the center. It should be his story. You should follow what he does, and I feel like the 98 version did that very well. And I feel like I'm reviewing the 98 one too much, because I'm going to make a full-fledged review of it in the next couple days. But, again, with the stage one, it's like Valjean's the main character this moment. And then, screw Valjean, Fantine's the main character for 10 minutes. And then once Fantine's dead, 10 minutes later, Valjean's the main, the Thénardiers are the main characters. I'm getting tongue-tied. And then, it's, the revolutionary people, and it's Cosette, and it's Eponine, and it's like, that's the thing though, it skips around so much, it doesn't stay with one character, so you can get attached to them. And if they want to stay with Valjean a long time, then leave him for a while and go to other characters, that's fine, but stay with those characters. They jump around from character to character, you can't, and you have these people say, the stage version is the most loyal adaptation, it's fantastic, one of the best Broadway musicals of all time. I think it's got great music, good enough to be one of the best of all time in my opinion. I think it's very good. It's loyal to the book, yes. And but again, I just don't feel like it focuses on the characters enough. And maybe that's what happens in the novel. Again, I'll be the first to say I've not read the novel, so if that's what happens, please let me know in the comments. Don't get mad because I have not read it. But here's the issue, guys, and this is the grand scheme of things. I'm not hating on the stage musical, but they're making it into a movie. If you're going to make this into a movie, you need to make sure you appeal to moviegoers. You need to make sure, movies have different rules than stage productions do. In stage productions, you really can do, obviously you can't do whatever you want, but you can, story-wise, you kind of can, as long as it's, an entertaining thing. With a movie, you need to be focused. You need to have organization. You can't just cut back like this. And I feel like a lot of the negative reviews it's getting, and I'm not running down because I don't want them influencing my opinion, but I think a lot of them are simply because their relationships don't develop. It's so jumpy. It jumps from one character to the next, and it's completely sung, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is if it doesn't help you give relationships to these. This is a picture that describes a lot of what I've been seeing. I see people who are like, I just loved the stage production, but when I saw the movie, it was just kind of ho-hum. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was horrible either. Well, that's kind of what I thought of the stage production. I thought the music was very good, but mind you, I wasn't really judging the production. I was looking at how do you make it a movie? And I can't think of any way it's going to be this Oscar winning picture that I was hoping it was going to be. And I feel like Les Miserables, done right, would be, God, that thing would hog the Oscars. But the issue is, the musical doesn't focus on one character. And it pretty much covers the entire novel, including every character and a lot of sub-stories in 2.5 hours. So it's got to move, and it's all sung. So it's like, I'd imagine a lot of the complaints are, I didn't really get to focus on a single character, or I didn't really feel the passion behind it, or it just moved too fast for me. Just stuff like that. And that's going to be the issue with the movie, I'm afraid. Maybe I'll be wrong. And even then, I'm not hating on the movie. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I think the movie's going to be good. I think I'm going to see it and I'm going to enjoy it. But I don't think I'm going to see it and give it, stand up, applause, raving. I don't think it's going to be a 10 out of 10 movie. And if you asked me 6 months ago, is it going to be one? I would say probably. I mean, I had a lot of faith in it, but... And again, I think the movie's going to be good with the material it has. I don't think the material should be made in a movie. Because it may be good on Broadway when, that's the thing about Broadway, is that it's the atmosphere. I've never been there, but I know. Because I worked with stage. I still am, kind of. But it's atmosphere. It's being there. If you're not there and you're just watching it on YouTube, you don't get that same sense. And I think I mentioned like 10 minutes ago, I think there's a reason I feel this way about the stage musical, but I think it's just the emotion, the atmosphere, Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what it's all about. And that's why the musical's so loved. But a movie's different. A movie, it should be up closer to you. It should have more emotion. It needs to appeal more. You need to grow connections. You need to become invested in the characters. And in the stage musical, it's just like all these events are happening. And it jumps around. It wants to be faithful, but wants to do it in a short amount of time. So it's just so jumpy. It jumps around so much that it's like, I was shocked when Fantine died with and it was only 40 minutes in. And I was like, geez. So Valjean got out of prison, had his whole turn of events, became mayor. Fantine got fired, all the prostitution stuff. And then Valjean took care of her and she died. And it was really 37 minutes in? Are you kidding? That is way too fast. And that's the issue with the movie. It's probably gonna move too fast, and you're not gonna be able to breathe. That's the thing about movies. You have to breathe when you watch them and take it all in, and you're not gonna be able to do that. And I want you all to keep in mind, this video is not about me ranting on the musical. I thought the musical was very solid, and I could see why people love it so much. And I said it's all about the atmosphere. What I'm ranting on is making it into a movie and how I think it's going to turn out. Because I do not think this is the best source material to make. I think the source material would be a very good movie if done right. But I do not think this is the right way to do it for a major motion picture. This may be good to please the fans, but if someone really wants to make a Les Miserables movie, there's a different way to do it. But I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. Alright, now continuing on. I think the movie will be good because it's going to do the best job with what it's got. I think it's very handicapped because, again, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to breathe. You're not allowed to fully, invest in the characters and their trials and experiences. I mean, it's going to be there, but you're not going to feel it because it'd be like, there are movies, like, let's say an action movie, where, hundreds and hundreds of people die. But you don't care about them because you were never allowed to. The movie never gave you time to, it never introduced you to them. You never learned who they were. You never grew to like them. And it's kind of the same way in Les Miserables. Not to that extent, because obviously you care about the characters. But it's like I was not bought in on the fact that Javert wants to catch Valjean so much. I wasn't bought in on their, was it 18-year chase? And in the 1998 movie, I know I keep referring to it, but that's the main other thing I've seen. I was. Because you were allowed to learn about each other. They were allowed to learn about each other. You were allowed to see them, play this game mentally when Valjean was mayor. And you saw them play it physically later on. and you know their relationships grew for better or worse, and you experienced it, and you bought into their experiences, and you grew to become invested in the chase.